Hello, 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 and happy fucking Wednesday, you guys, and welcome to People Talk Now. I'm your host, Vanessa Herrera, and this is the show where you ask about it, and I talk about it. Let's not forget, you guys, we are trying to change the pace out there and what people call in better days. So yes, welcome, episode 32, you guys. We're 32 episodes in, and if I haven't said it yet, happy fucking Wednesday, all right? And what's up? How's everybody doing this morning? I'm doing pretty good. And if you're reading the caption somewhere below here, you're probably wondering, Vanessa, what are we talking about today? What's the topic? Well, I'm going to be asking, how much sleep do we really need? Like how much of it do we need? Well, don't worry, because I did some research and we got the science behind it. We got some spiritual gurus talking about it, and I got all the info that you need. So don't worry, I got it covered. I went and did my little digging with my little shovel. So, yeah, so I don't know how everybody's doing. First of all, I just want to say thank you if you've listened to my show up until this far. I appreciate you listening week in and week out. Weed out? Am I thinking of weed? What the fuck? Whoa. Okay, so like I said, week in and week out. Don't worry, we don't got to edit that. Just leave it in. So yeah, you guys, I've been really fascinated by this lately. So I thought, you know what? Why not talk about it? Because sometimes we get those weeks where we're just like, we get a week in a row where we're maybe not like really catching up on sleep, right? And then one day it just catches up to you like the predator. So don't worry. I have like the scientific facts behind sleep. And I also got, I don't know if you guys saw from my post last weekend, I think it was. I kind of dropped a little hint. So I showed you guys Sadhguru. And one of the things that really interested me about Sadhguru is that he says that we really don't need the standard 8 hours of sleep. He's saying that even 4 hours of sleep or rest, as he calls it, is all that we need. And so I kind of just got my research on that, and I'll talk about it here with you guys. And, we'll get into that. And I'll tell you why what I believe to be true. And you can choose to believe what you believe is true. But let's dive right into it. Also, I'd like to apologize for the lighting. It's been really gloomy the past morning. So, I'm trying to work with what I got with the lighting. We're just trying to make this work. Okay, so bear with me. Yeah, so let's get into the science of it. Okay, let's get into the science. So here we are. The science of sleep, understanding what happens when we sleep, first of all. So let's go back. Let's go back and talk about before the 1950s. But before we get into all of that, let me just say that sleep accounts for 1/4 to 1/3 of human lifespan. So think about that. That's quite a bit of your life that you spend sleeping. But why? What's the real necessity for us sleeping? Like, why do we need to sleep? Why do we need to slurp? Where is my mind today? Why do we need to sleep any kind of amount of time? So yeah, what exactly happens to us when we sleep? And that's kind of what I was wondering, because we tend to dream, some of us, and sometimes some of us don't even get any sleep at all. But how is it that some people function better than other people? And how is it that some people don't function very well at all, if you know what I mean? So before the 1950s, most people believe, and I say most because I'm not speaking for all, but most people believed that sleep was a passive activity during which the body and brain were dormant. But it turns out that sleep is a period during which the brain is engaged in a number of activities necessary to life. So what are those? So from what I found out, okay, all sleep is not the same. Okay, so what I'm explaining to you right now is the scientific facts that have been proven by universities and doctors. One specific doctor is Johns Hopkins, who's a sleep expert, and a neurologist, Mark Wu, MD, PhD. So they kind of got to the facts of what happens to our brain and how our genes can affect our sleep clock, right? So we'll get into that. First of all, let me just say that all sleep is not the same. all sleep is not. Throughout your lifetime, your brain will cycle repeatedly through two different types of sleep cycles, right? One is REM, and I'm sure you've probably heard of this one before. This is your rapid eye movement, sleep, and non-REM sleep. So the first part of the cycle is non-REM sleep, which is composed of 4 stages. 4, not 1, 4. Okay, the first stage comes between being awake and falling asleep. That's the first one. Okay, the second is light sleep. That's kind of like those moments where maybe you're sitting on the couch and maybe you're watching The Walking Dead and you kind of doze off for a second and you're like, well, what happened to those 20 unaccounted minutes? But the second is light sleep, when your heart rate is breathing regulate and body temperature drops, right? So then the third and fourth stages are deep sleep. That's when you're like, wait, like that's when like earthquake hits and you didn't even know that there was an earthquake. You're the last one to find out. That's deep sleep. Through REM, sleep was previously believed to be the most important sleep phase for learning and memory. Newer data suggests that non-REM sleep is more important for these tasks, as well as being the more restful and restorative phase of sleep. As you cycle into REM sleep, the eyes move rapidly behind closed lids. And I don't know if you've watched anybody sleep before. Maybe I'm the only creepy person out there. Maybe, because I am kind of a creep. But sometimes I watch my kids sleep. Yeah. Can we cue the crickets? Okay. And brain waves are similar to those during wakefulness. Breathe rate increases and body becomes temporarily paralyzed as we dream. The cycle then repeats itself, but with each cycle you spend less time in the deeper stages 3 and 4 of sleep and more time in REM sleep. On a typical night, you'll cycle through 4 or 5 times. That's insane. Like, doesn't that trip you out? Like, what the heck is going on with this? So, okay. Ooh, okay. So here's an interesting fact here. So according to John Hopkins, who's a sleep expert, like I just mentioned, and neurologist Mark Wu, they say that your genes affect your sleep clock. Now you're probably wondering, like, what? I don't get it. Well, apparently, researchers recently identified a gene involved in the circadian regulation of sleep timing, right? Your circadian clock is what's inside of you, which kind of tells you, like, all right, it's time to go to sleep, it's time to wake up. You kind of know when you usually nighttime comes around, we know, like, okay, it's time to go to bed. Most people, most regular people. I'm not talking about you night owls, okay? So when researchers removed the gene called wide awake from fruit flies, the flies experienced problems falling asleep and staying asleep. A similar sleep gene exists in both humans and mice. Scientists continue to study this gene in hopes of understanding more about how processes within our cells affect our ability to sleep. Your body's built-in sleep controls. Okay. According to Wu, there are 2 main processes that regulate sleep: circadian rhythms and sleep drive. So, people with total blindness often have trouble sleeping because they are unable to detect and respond to these light cues. And kind of like what I was talking about right now, that's kind of what happens to us. So in the morning, we obviously wake up because most of the time, or if sometimes even, maybe not even the light, but our body responds to the light. So when our body sees it, our body knows, okay, it's time to be awake. Sometimes when we see the darkness, it kind of relates to that internally as like, okay, it must be around that time to start winding the fuck down and go to sleep. So sleep drive also plays a key role. Your body craves sleep, much like it hungers for food. Clearly, some of us eat a lot more than others, and some of us eat a lot less than we should. Throughout the day, your desire for sleep builds, and when it reaches a certain point, you need sleep. A major difference between sleep and hunger is that your body can't force you to eat when you're hungry, but when you're tired, it can put you to sleep. And even if you're in a meeting or behind the wheel of a car, when you're exhausted, your body is even able to engage in microsleep episodes of 1 or 2 seconds while your eyes are open. Napping for more than 30 minutes later in the day can throw you off your night's sleep by decreasing your body's sleep drive. That's something. I'll drink to that. In case if anybody's wondering what kind of tea I drink on Wednesday mornings. There you have it. Tazo. It's lemongrass and spearmint. Also, this is not a paid advertisement. I don't get paid shit. Okay. But the question is here. Why am I talking about sleep? Why do you need sleep? We're going to get more into that. But we're still here. This is me reading to you what the fucking scientists are saying. All right. Then I'm going to go and talk about Sadhguru. And then I'm going to go into depths of what actually starts beginning happening to our bodies when we deprive ourselves of sleep. Okay. So right now I'm reading to you the facts that I dug up from the internet fucking hole. Okay. Last but not least, why you need sleep. All right. So we're going to talk about that. If you have ever felt foggy after a poor night's sleep, it won't surprise you that sleep significantly impacts brain function. And you guys know how much I love talking about the brain. First, a healthy amount of sleep is vital for brain plasticity, okay? Or the brain's ability to adapt to input. If we sleep way too little, we become unable to process that we've learned during the day, what we've learned during the day, and we have more trouble remembering in the future, okay? Now, this can go towards anybody who's trying to learn anything, really. Like whether you're trying to learn an instrument, whether you're at work, whether you're a college student, and you just can't really understand why it is that you're not obtaining certain information and you find that frustrating. This could be helpful for that type of situation. Or whether you're going to give a big speech and you just can't quite get the whole speech down in your brain and you're wondering, why is it so hard for you to remember certain things? Well, let's continue here. So researchers also believe that sleep may promote the removal of waste products from brain cells, something that seems to occur less efficiently when the brain is awake. Sleep is vital to the rest of the body too. When people don't get enough sleep, their health risk rises. Symptoms of depression, seizures, high blood pressure, and migraines worsen. And I know that to be true because I think there's been a time where I wasn't really sleeping that well. And I would, I don't know if it happens to some of you guys, but I know there's been times where I didn't really sleep well. And for some reason, my eyes become very sensitive to light. I don't know if that happens to anybody else. Or am I the only vampire? Okay. Immunity is compromised, first of all, increasing the likelihood of illness and infections in your body. Sleep also plays a role in metabolism. So even one night of missed sleep can create a pre-diabetic state in otherwise a healthy person. And there are many important connections between health and sleep. So those are the scientific reasons, right? They're pretty, I don't know, scientific, if you ask me. So how much sleep do we actually fucking need, you guys? How much? Well, not to worry. Now that you've heard the doctors and the sleep experts, let me go with what Sadhguru says, and you can make your opinion on what you think, is important. What amount of sleep is actually important to you? So before I even talk about really quickly about Sadhguru's tips on how to reduce the amount of sleep that you actually need or should be having, whatever the fuck. You're probably wondering, like, if you don't know who Sadhguru is, if you're like, Vanessa, who the fuck is Sadhguru? I'm sorry, Sadhguru. I'm so sorry I said fuck. Sadhguru is actually a yogi and a profound mystic of our times. Okay, let me give you his little bio here. So Sadhguru is a mystic of our times. He's a visionary humanitarian and a prominent spiritual leader. A contemporary guru rooted as strongly in mundane and pragmatic matters as he is an inner experience and wisdom. Sadhguru works tirelessly towards the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of all. His mastery of the mechanisms of life, an outcome of his profound experience of self, guides in exploring the subtle dimensions of life. So Sadhguru speaks at some of the world's most prominent international leadership forums. In January 2007, he participated in 4 panels at the World's Economic Forum and spoke on issues ranging from diplomacy and economic development to education and the environment. So, I don't know. I feel like I just really I love, I don't know if that's really the right word to say here, but I really agree with some of the visions that Sadhguru has. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and, offer you the tips. And you guys can find these tips online as well. All you have to do is go to isha.sadhguru.org and you can find, you can look up some of the videos he posts online and things like that. They're really helpful, especially when you're trying to better yourself and trying to find the light. Okay, so Sadhguru gives his 10 healthy tips on how to reduce your sleep. Sadhguru talks about how we really don't need the full 8 hours of sleep, that we would even just 4 hours of sleep would be good, but he talks about it in a different way. He calls it resting. So I'm going to go ahead and give you those 10 tips now. So here are the 10 tips. Number 1, he says, don't battle with life. You're probably like, and I'm going to tell you why these make more sense to me than the other ones I just shared. Okay, they're very easy to understand, right? Because it's like, I feel like it's like another human being who understands me and understands what I'm actually going through, instead of talking to me like I'm an experiment, that's what I really love about it. So Sadhguru says, don't battle with life. The body needs rest, not sleep, right? So in most people's experience, sleep, and he gives a little kind of video here, and I can share that link. I can share that link below this video if you want, so that way you guys can watch it. That way you can go see what he talks about and you can have a better understanding. So he says, your mornings would be pretty bad if your nights were not restful. So it is not sleep, but restfulness that makes the difference. So he's even saying that if you're just sitting down, or if you're walking, you're going on a nice brisk walk and you decide to just stand there, that's even considered resting. Your body understands it internally as a resting state. And so we can all agree to that, because there's been times where maybe we're hiking, or maybe we're walking, or sometimes you're running, but maybe you need to stop and take a rest. In that moment, you're not really moving anymore. You stopped to take a rest, so your body understands it as it being in a resting state. That's less that your body has to work towards, basically that's less that your body has to work towards producing different chemicals, and your body's going to ask of more things from you when you're not resting. The more you're using your metabolism, the more energy you're burning, of course, you're going to feel a little bit more tired. Again, that all depends on what you're putting into your body. So he says, if you keep your body relaxed through the day, right? This is Sadhguru's perception. If your work, exercise, and every other activity is a form of relaxation for you, your sleep quota will go down, meaning that's less rest that we're going to need in a day. And I agree, because it's all about the way that you view things. If you look at everything tirelessly through tired eyes, of course, at the end of the day, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to feel like you need more sleep. You're going to feel like every day you're waking up and you're still not rested. You still don't have the sleep that you need, or rest that you need. So he says, the problem is that people have been taught to do everything hard, in tension. I see people walking very tense in the park. This sort of exercise will bring more harm than well-being. Don't go at everything like it is a war. Whether you are walking, jogging, or exercising, why don't you do it easily and joyfully? I love that. I don't know about you guys, but I love that because that's so true, you guys. Like, we beat ourselves up mentally, physically, emotionally, probably too. Also, I just want to clarify really quick, little intermission. We are a little over a week after my buzz cut, and it is growing back fast, let me tell you. Okay, back to the show. So I really like that because, you guys, seriously, sometimes we don't really realize how drained we are mentally, physically, and spiritually at the end of most nights because of everything. It's like we're battling with life, right? It's like we're going into it like who are we fighting? Like, we don't need to fight nobody. You sure in the hell don't need to fight yourself either. You don't need to do any of that. What you need to be doing is resting. Not all the time, but some of the time. So keeping yourself fit and well is not a battle. And I agree. And I completely agree. Because I had this misconception that I had to beat myself up royally all the time just to, be super yoked or, grow muscle and all that. And it's not true. There's people that do yoga and they're perfectly fit. They're in good health, So it's all about the way that you enjoy what you're doing. So again, I think what he's saying here, I may be wrong, but I think what Sadhguru is trying to say here is that just enjoy the activities that you're doing with a more relaxed mindset, like don't go into it thinking like it's a chore, don't go like you're going to war, just enjoy what you're doing. And I think your body won't be as tense because I think sometimes we don't realize how tense we are when we're at the gym or when you're doing home workouts or whatever, wherever you decide to go work out. I don't think we really realize how tense we are sometimes. Number 2, yogic practices. If you bring certain yogic practices such as Shambhavi Mahamudra into your life, can we rewind that again? Because I don't know what I just said. One of the first changes you will see is your pulse rate. For example, someone who has just gone through the inner engineering program and started Shambhavi, if he checks his pulse before and after dinner, records it, and then practices Shambhavi twice a day for 6 weeks and checks his pulse again, it would have come down by 8 to 15 counts. If one really sinks deep into restfulness in Shambhavi, the pulse rate will go down further. Wow. That's pretty crazy. With 12 to 18 months of practice, you can bring your pulse rate down to about 50 or 60 in a restful state. If this happens, your sleep quota will go down dramatically because if the body is generally restful through the day, whatever activity you may be doing, it remains restful, so it will not demand more sleep. That's really amazing. Like, honestly, if you can really obtain that by practicing this, we've got to look that up. Shambhavi Mahamudra. I know it's like a type of yogic practice, but again, this sort of like the same thing with like meditation. It's something that you have to take into practice and start doing. Lemongrass and spearmint is amazing, you guys. Okay, so number 3, according to Sadhguru, is yogic practices. So this is another one. It's called Shunya meditation. I knew this was coming up. Yeah, he wasn't going to let me off that easy. Okay, so there's a certain meditation we teach which is called Shunya, taught in a program that we conduct only in the Isha centers in southern India, in the United States. We do not teach it elsewhere because it needs a certain atmosphere, training, and other processes. Shunya can bring your sleep quota down dramatically. It is just 15-minute meditation, but you will see If you settle down into this meditation process properly, your metabolism will drop up to 24%. That's pretty good too. That's a really good chunk, actually. 24% is the deepest drop you can have in a conscious state of meditation. If you go beyond that, you will not be conscious in the usual sense. To be able to be relaxed to a point and then come out consciously, you cannot go beyond 24%. That's fucking crazy. You will find this 15 minutes of meditation is equal to 2 to 3 hours of sleep in terms of restfulness. That's amazing, you guys. Like, why are we not doing this? Like, we need to go to India, all of us. Like, let's hop on a plane as soon as quarantine is over. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what? Why am I recording in my bedroom right now? It's so gloomy outside. So yeah, we need to get on that straight up, because according to Sadhguru, there are such drastic physiological changes in the body, especially on the level of your blood chemistry. Phenomenal things will change, which is why it needs to be taught in very controlled, focused conditions. So obviously this particular one is only done in certain centers, in the Isha centers. So this is something that to definitely, look at. This also can be found, a video of the Shunya meditation clip. It kind of shows you like how they conduct it. So there's also a link. It's called ishayoga.org, and it's like advanced programs. It's like an intensive meditation thing. So you can look that up too. I can kind of put the link and you guys can find it in case you want to know what kind of meditation that is. If you're the type of person like me, like I like meditating. I don't think I've ever meditated for more than 15 minutes. I think the most I've meditated was 10 minutes, and that was hard for me. So, yeah. Number 4, according to Sadhguru, is bring natural foods into your diet. What I've been trying to tell you guys, man. I feel like I'm always trying to tell you guys about this, but y'all don't listen, and it's none of my business, though. I tried to put my pinky up, but it was too heavy. If you're sleeping 8 or 9 hours a day, one thing to look at is the food you eat. I swear I'm not twitching. I'm just trying to wink at you guys. Consuming at least a certain amount of vegetarian material, particularly foods that can be eaten in their natural uncooked condition, is very important for your general well-being. AKA, Vanessa's raw salads in the afternoon. When you cook food at a large amount of prana or life energy is destroyed in it. This one reason why lethargy can set into your body. If you eat a certain amount of fresh fruits and vegetables, there are many benefits. But one thing you will notice immediately is that your sleep quota will come down. You will need less sleep. Obviously, why? Because if you're eating a bunch of foods that are processed, even while you're sleeping, your body's still working to process all that food that you ate. And it's hard for your body to break it down and take it to where it needs to go, into your body, to your brain, wherever the food needs to travel. Trust me, it just becomes harder. So the more can we rewind that back? The more raw foods you eat, the easier it is for your body to process, the better rest you're going to be getting. Because even when you're sleeping, if you just ate something like an hour before you lay down and went to bed, naturally you're going to have a difficult time sleeping. Because why? Well, because your body is trying to break all those things down and is having a hard time digesting all those things and sending it to where it needs to go, right? So I hope that made sense, because that's something that I am aware of. So I always make sure that I don't really go to sleep at least right away after I eat a meal. Okay, number 5, from stove to plate. Okay, so in Indian culture, traditionally it is said that any cooked food should always be eaten within 1.5 to 2 hours of being cooked. Keeping cooked food in a fridge for long periods of time and then eating it can raise your sleep quota, in addition to causing many other problems to the body. The same is true for canned food. There is something called tamas, which literally means inertia. Food that is kept like this will have a lot of tamas, which can bring down your mental agility and alertness. Whoa. And I'm going to say something to that. First of all, let me turn my phone off, because apparently it's trying to disrupt the system over here, and I'm not appreciating that right now. Okay. Now where were we? So, oh yeah, we're talking about your mental agility and your alertness. Okay, so Sadhguru talks about that, but let me just say that I know this to be true. And I say this to my husband sometimes, like maybe a lot. He hears this from me because I'm the one that eats probably the most raw foods within my family. So one of the things that I notice when I'm eating raw foods is how my mind shifts and how my thinking process is, and how like I see everything, and how everything feels differently. It's like if I was a robot, right? I'm trying to like use an example here so you guys can understand. So say I was a robot, but I'm just, there's two robots, right? One of them is the robot that eats just a lot of cooked foods. Maybe they feed it a certain program, right? But the other robot is the 2.0 advanced version. Well, maybe they put them out in the field to compete against each other. But when I eat raw foods, okay, this is the 2.0 version robot we're talking about here. That's me. Like, I'm thinking differently. I'm not the same person. And you're mutating your stomach too to be, it starts to crave those things. Just like the way you crave salty and sugary foods, when you start to train your gut to want those foods, well, guess what? Your gut has like a brain of its own, and it's going to start asking you for those things. So therefore, it's easier for you to have more alertness, right? Because that's how I feel. Like that's the best description I can give. Like when I'm eating like that, I want to read more. I want to find more information. I want to feed my brain. My brain, it's like, it's kind of like it's thanking me, for, giving it the proper nutrition that it needs. And that's kind of, I think, what Sadhguru is trying to say here. And I know that to be true because, yeah. Okay. So number 6, Sadhguru says, how much to eat. It says, how keenly you manage your energies is what decides your alertness. To meditate, alertness should not just be of the mind, but of your very energy. To assist this for people on the yogic path, it is said that you should eat only 24 mouthfuls, and you must chew every mouthful at least 24 times. This will ensure that the food is pre-digested in your mouth before it goes in, and it will not cause dullness. If you do this during your evening meal, you will easily wake up at 3:30 in the morning. In the yogic system, this period is called the Brahma Muhurtam. It is an ideal time to do yogic practices because there is an extra support from nature at the time for your sadhana. So, if you guys are probably like wondering, like, what the heck does any of this mean? Sadhguru is just trying to say that, I read one of Sadhguru's books, and it's a really good book, and I'll go ahead and post the link to that book below here so that you guys, if you guys are interested in purchasing the book and reading it, you guys can understand what he's talking about. But basically, obviously chewing your food, a lot of us don't really tend to chew our food the way it's intended to be eaten. We rush everything, like most Americans, we just want everything fast, and we just want to eat, and we want to just gorge and just but when we pre-digest it, meaning chew everything carefully and just enjoy our food and give it those intentions, then obviously it's going to be easier for your body to process it. Therefore, you're not going to need as much rest or sleep as you think that you would need. And then you're going to be finding yourself waking up at these interesting times, like he just mentioned, like 3 in the morning, closer to 4 in the morning. And then those are times where they practice a certain kind of yogic, what is it? Like a yogic system, like a practice that they do. And usually it's during those times because that's when, believe it or not, when we have the most energy. I know, right? Sounds crazy. Like who wakes up at 4 in the morning saying, yeah, let's fucking do yoga. But no, it's true. Like it's true. I used to wake up around that time and I'd be at the gym at 5 in the morning, and I'm not gonna lie to you. And those times it was like, I've never felt better. I never complained about it. I never even during that time, life was great. And I know all this to be true because it's true. I felt a certain energy during that time of the morning that I didn't feel at any other time period in my day. Okay, number 7, don't forcefully deny sleep. So how much sleep your body needs depends on the level of physical activity you perform. So there's no need to fix the quantum of either food or sleep. When your activity levels are low, you eat less. When they are high, you may eat more. The same goes for sleep. The moment that the body is well rested, it will get up, whether at 3 a.m. or 8 a.m. Your body should not wake up to an alarm bell. Once it feels sufficiently rested, it must come awake. If you forcefully deny sleep to the body, your physical and mental capabilities and whatever else you have will drop. You should never do that. You must give the body how much sleep it needs. So clearly, Sadhguru's saying here, like, listen to your body as well. Don't force yourself, deny yourself of sleep. I think it's important to note that, aside of quarantine, some people have to wake up early. So I don't really know how that would work for some people, but I think, when you're tired, you should sleep, and when you're not, you shouldn't, right? How hard is that? But if the body is somehow trying to use the bed as a grave, it won't want to come out. Somebody will have to raise you from the dead. It depends on how you're handling your life. If you're in a mental state where you want to avoid life, you will naturally tend to eat and sleep more. That's deep. Okay, number 8, don't sleep right after you eat. We just said that, you guys. There are quite a few people who are in such mental state that unless they load themselves with food and make the body full, they cannot fall asleep. You must give sufficient time for digestion to happen before you sleep. I would say 80% of the food that you eat will go waste if you fall asleep within 2 hours of eating it. That is crazy. Did you hear what Sadhguru just said? If you eat 2 hours before bed and you fall asleep, 80% of the food that you ate will go to waste. That's crazy. If you're in a condition where you cannot sleep unless you have a full stomach, you need to address this issue. This is not about sleep. This is a certain mental state. That's, whoa. Whoa. Just kidding. When you want a snack at night and you think about Sadhguru, what's going on when you have to sit down and talk to somebody? Number 9, the right position for sleep. Okay, when the body is positioned horizontally, you can immediately make out that your pulse rate drops. The body makes this adjustment because if blood pumped with the same force, too much will go into your head, causing damage. The blood vessels which go upward, are a finer arrangement compared to those going down. As they go up into the brain, they become almost hair-like to a point that they cannot take an extra drop. So it says, when you sleep, if you place your head towards the north and stay that way for about 5 to 6 hours, the magnificent pull of the earth will cause pressure on your brain because iron is an important ingredient in your blood. It is not that if you sleep this way, you will fall dead, but if you do this every day, you're asking for trouble. If you're beyond a certain age and your blood vessels are weak, it can result in a hemorrhage and paralytic strokes. If your system is sturdy, you may not sleep very well because there is more circulation in the brain than there should be. If you are in the northern hemisphere, east is the best direction to keep your head when you sleep. Northeast is okay. West is all right. South, if you must. North, no. Okay, this is too many directions. Can't. I usually just sleep on my right. Am I right? So number 10, keep your system pure. Last but not least, says Sadhguru. The nature of a human being is such that while every other creature adapts to the situations it is placed in, a human being is able to create the situations that he wants. That is what makes us distinct. If you have any sort of concern for yourself, you have to be conscious about what goes into your system. And that's true. He's not lying about that. There's a lot of facts to be said there. Things to think about. The question is not how long you live, but how well you live. And what you say and how you eat. These things are practiced in yoga because by keeping the ambience, our tongue, our mind, and body pure, there is a certain freedom, intelligence, and blissfulness to your existence. Let me tell you a joke. Ooh, Sadhguru's going to tell us a joke. Okay, so two Presbyterian nuns were driving in the Montana countryside and they ran out of gas. So they walked to a nearby farm, which was 5 miles away. They found the local farmer. He was sloshed out. And they asked him, "We need some gasoline." He said, "Take it for my tractor." So they went to the tractor, but they did not have a can. Then they saw an old chamber pot, so they emptied gasoline from the tractor into the chamber pot and carried it to the car 5 miles back. They were slowly pouring it into the car. A Baptist priest was passing by. He saw these nuns pouring things from the chamber pot into the gas tank, and he stopped, backed up and said, "Sisters, I really appreciate your faith, but believe me, it doesn't work like that. If you just pick up some things here and there and put it into your system, it won't go very far." Oh, wow. Food for thought, you guys. Food for thought. So, I really like, personally, because I believe myself to be more of a spiritual person, I really like Sadhguru's like his tips versus like the scientific ones. The scientific ones I felt like, I don't know, kind of just was very short and like, you know, very just like really fact check, sort of quick little science, you know, facts about what happens to our bodies when we sleep. So, you know, those are things that I'm not really interested in, to be honest, like that particularly. I was more interested in like what happens to us. And, you know, I think Sadhguru really gave some really insightful tips on how to reduce the amount of sleep that we actually need. So that's good. That's something to know that we actually, I feel like we really don't. Like, I think we kind of get the gist of like, okay, so we really don't need a full 8 hours of sleep per se. Like, because that's kind of what I was trying to get to. Like, I feel like a lot of my life growing up, I kind of feel like that's horseshit. Like, come on, like that, like most of us, we're lucky if you get a full 8 hours of sleep. Some people can't even sleep 2 hours a night. You know, some people can't sleep 3 hours, 4 hours. Everybody's different. Everybody's on different sleep cycles. Does it make someone a better person than someone else? I don't doubt it. Those aren't things that I'm like, oh, well, this person has better character, or they are doing better because they get more sleep, less sleep. You get what I mean? But I just wanted to know the long-term effects as well of like, aside of the facts, like, do we really need 8 hours of sleep? I don't think so. Like, I think as long as we are resting, I think that a lot of the issues with sleep has to do with what we're putting in our body, what we're listening to. So now that we got two different mindsets on sleep, right? Like, one is like how to lower your sleep quota, meaning like the amount of sleep you actually need. So that was Sadhguru. And then the other one was like, oh yeah, you need to get your 8 to 9 hours of sleep, which is like, I don't fucking believe that. Like, I don't believe that we need that much sleep. Like, we got 24 hours in a day. You mean to tell me that 8 to 9 of them we spend sleeping? Fuck you, man. I'm trying to spend as much time as I can on the things that I love. This podcast. So now, let's go ahead now and talk about the effects of sleep deprivation on our body. This is what's important. Okay, so you can get your 4 hours of sleep, you can get your 2 hours of sleep, you can get your goddamn 8 or 9 hours of sleep. But now, oh shit, I almost knocked my goddamn microphone down. We're going to talk about the effects that sleep deprivation actually has on our bodies now. And this is for all of us, because sometimes you girls would be still trying to catch up on some Z's. Okay? Good morning, everybody. Are we awake? Okay, so here we go. One of the number one things that not getting enough rest will affect is your concentration. You do not want to be out there trying to be a creative person and not have any sort of concentration whatsoever. Like, why would you want that? Like, no. We need to be able to concentrate on everything that we love, our surroundings, life, what we're eating. You know what I mean? It affects your concentration, your creativity, and your problem-solving skills. And pretty much none of those things are going to be up to par if you are not firing on full cylinders, meaning you didn't get enough rest. Like, you have to take care of yourself. Getting the proper rest is part of you taking care of yourself. Memory issues. Your brain, it can't process and remember information if you have a lack of sleep. It can honestly, this is one of those things that it can impact you in the short term and the long term. So just because you're like, oh, Vanessa, that's not affecting me right now, I'm not worried about it, I'm young. No, it can actually still affect you right now. It doesn't matter your age category. You can be young, you can be old, you can be, doesn't matter. It could still affect you. Mood changes. This is a big factor. There's times where I know that particularly that if it's affected my mood, if I haven't slept enough, that's kind of like one of the first things I notice. Some of us may notice it more than others, but for me, I'm just like, when I'm deprived of sleep, I tend to get moody, emotional things. I get quick-tempered for certain things. And why have those sort of reactions when you can kind of fix them and be, better at it, right? Like, that's the whole point. And we're talking about sleep here, so this is kind of part of working on yourself. Remember, I recently talked about power of thought, and I talked about, how we can, we can control our thoughts. We can change who we are, who we want to be, and what direction we want to go to better ourselves. Another thing that's very important, especially in these times, for you to make sure that you get the proper amount of rest that's good for you, precisely for you. We're talking about you right now, the person watching this video, is that it weakens your immunity. When we aren't properly rested, our body doesn't have like the proper immune system to basically defend us against viruses, to defend us against common colds and the flu. You're honestly most likely to get sick when you're exposed to germs and things like that. Because why? Because your body isn't rested. It doesn't feel strong. So our immune system plays a big part in that. And when your immune system is weak because you're deprived from sleeping, of course, that's one of the things that it can affect. And eventually that will take a toll on you. Accidents. This is a really scary one because there's people that have been on the road. There's been statistics where people have fallen asleep at the wheel and it can cause serious injuries. Why? Because these people that have been driving, they feel drowsy at the road. They weren't able to control it. And sometimes your body will just shut down. Sometimes that's a scary thing. Your body will take so much from, I'm saying you will take so much from your body, and eventually your body will say, okay, this is enough. Your body will be just like a machine. It will just shut down, and like as if you took the batteries right out. So we got to be very mindful of that. You got to be very mindful because you could be putting yourself in danger. You could be putting other people in danger as well. And, we don't want to do that. High blood pressure. If you sleep less than 5 hours a night, you're at risk for high blood pressure eventually at some point in time in your life. So whether it does, like I said, whether it's not happening now, it can happen later on in your life, in the future. And if this is not something that you want to affect you in your later years as you get older, you got to start taking care of yourself and getting the proper rest. And plus you'll start to notice how good you feel too from getting the right amount of rest that your body needs. Also, you're at risk for diabetes as well, which, again, it says a lack of sleep here affects your body's release of insulin, a blood sugar-lowering hormone. People who don't get enough sleep have higher blood sugar levels and an increased risk for type 2 diabetes. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, just because it's not happening right now, and you've gone to the doctor and your doctor's told you like, oh, you have a good clean slate of health, that's good for you. But again, this is something that can happen later on in your life. So why not prevent it now while you can? And weight gain. Ooh, especially right now since most of us are home. Some of us shooting here at home. With sleep deprivation, the chemicals that signal to your brain that you are full or are off balance. So therefore, as a result, you're more likely to overindulge even when you've had enough to eat. So you're overeating because your body's tired. This is something that's even happened to me where I've been tired and I'm denying myself of sleep sometimes, and I start overeating. What does your body crave? Your body starts craving for like those sugary foods. You want to reach out for sugary snacks, anything that's going to kind of give you that little boost of sugar. So, there goes the weight gain. Why? Because you're not making good decisions, because you're not thinking properly. Everything's off balance. So a couple other things. It lowers your sex drive. If you're a highly active person in the bedroom or in the cama, let me just tell you that people who don't get enough sleep often have a lower libido. And in men, this decreased sex drive may be due to a drop in testosterone levels. So men, if you're out there and if you're watching me, get your sleep, brother. Get your sleep. Get you some sleep. Okay. Also, risk of heart disease. Sleep deprivation may lead to increased blood pressure and higher levels of chemicals linked to inflammation, both of which play roles in heart disease. So if you don't want to be having no heart attacks out there, or you got loved ones, make sure that everybody's getting the proper rest. Please explain to them that even though it's not happening right now, this is stuff that can still happen later on in your future. We're not talking about some things that are just going to happen at the drop of a dime right now. And last but not least, it can cause poor balance, okay? Lack of sleep can affect your balance and coordination, making you more prone to fall and other physical accidents. So clearly, these are all things that not only affect our body internally, but a lot of our balance comes from our brain, the signals that our brain sends to the rest of our body. So clearly, if we're not resting, we're not balanced at all. We're fucking walking around like a bunch of lunatics. So in a nutshell, you guys, in a whole ass nutshell, in a whole ass thing, is that sleep deprivation is caused by a consistent lack of sleep or reduced quality of sleep. Okay, because that's kind of what Sadhguru is saying. He's saying like your quality of rest, and also just a consistent week of you not getting the rest. These are things that eventually can lead to health consequences that it's going to affect your whole body. And if you can help those underlying issues now, why would you not get a jump start, right? I know I would. So obviously, without enough sleep, our brain functions are not going to be working properly. So let's get a jump start on that. It's 2020, y'all. It's time for us to grow up and start getting the rest, you know. We don't got mommy and daddy to call us anymore and say, make sure you get your ass to bed on time, okay? So these are kind of 4 things to look out for when you know that these are noticeable signs of sleep deprivation. So excessive sleepiness, you're always sleepy all day, yawning, irritability, and daytime fatigue. So again, don't think that if you drink enough caffeine that it's enough to override your body's need for sleep. In fact, these can also make sleep deprivation worse by making it harder for you to fall asleep at night once it catches up to you. So put the Starbucks coffee fucking down. And again, this in turn can turn into, for some of you, nighttime insomnia, as you guys like to call it, and followed by daytime caffeine consumption. It's not going to make up for the lost shut eye that you got, okay? So, again, we're going to go a couple more details here before we conclude. So, your central nervous system. So, your central nervous system is the information highway of your body. I'm sure some of you learned about your body. Sleep is necessary to keep it functioning properly, but chronic insomnia can disrupt how your body usually sends information. During sleep, pathways form between nerve cells, neurons in your brain that help you remember new information you've learned. Sleep deprivation leaves your brain exhausted, so it can perform its duties as well. You may also find it more difficult to concentrate or learn new things. The signals your body sends may also be delayed, decreasing your coordination and increasing your risk for accidents. Sleep deprivation also negatively affects your mental abilities and emotional state. You may feel more impatient or prone to mood swings. It can also compromise decision-making processes and creativity. So this is for the people out there trying to make music and not getting enough sleep, the people that are taking, you're a photographer, you're a writer, you're a musician, you write, you play instruments. It's very important that you get the proper rest. So immune system, I know I talked about how it can compromise your immune system, and your body's not going to be able to combat and protect you from infections, diseases, bacteria. So while you sleep, your immune system produces protective infection-fighting substances like cytokines. It uses these substances to combat foreign invaders such as bacteria and viruses. Cytokines also helps you sleep, giving your immune system more energy to defend your body against illnesses. So, yes. Basically, in a nutshell, what it's trying to say is that long-term sleep deprivation also increases your risk for chronic conditions such as diabetes and heart disease. Here's one that I'm sure a lot of you may or may not know, but sleep deprivation, there's a relationship between sleep deprivation and your respiratory system, because when you're sleeping, you're breathing, right? So at nighttime, breathing disorder called obstruction sleep apnea, or OSA, can interrupt your sleep and lower the quality. As you wake up through the night, this can cause sleep deprivation, which leaves you more vulnerable to respiratory infections like the common cold and flu. Sleep deprivation can also make existing respiratory disease worsen, such as chronic lung diseases. So, again, get your sleep, because the Ronas out there, y'all, and you don't want to be caught with a weak respiratory system right now. Right now is not the time. Get your rest. Okay, so we're moving down here. We're moving down. Last one, but not least. I'm just telling you the effects of sleep deprivation on your body. Now that we talked about if we really need 8 hours, 9 hours, or 4 hours, or is 2 hours enough. Respiratory system. We talked about that. Now we're going to talk about digestive system. Along with eating too much and not exercising, sleep deprivation is another risk factor for becoming overweight and obese. Sleep affects the levels of 2 hormones. Not 1, but 2. Leptin and ghrelin, which controls feelings of hunger and fullness. Leptin tells your brain that you've had enough to eat. Without enough sleep, your brain reduces leptin and raises ghrelin, which is an appetite stimulant. The flux of these hormones could explain nighttime snacking or why someone may overeat later in the night. A lack of sleep can also make you feel too tired to exercise. Over time, reduced physical activity can cause you to gain weight because you're not burning enough calories and building muscle mass. So I really hope that kind of explained or summed up, some of the things that, sleep deprivation can affect your body. But before I go into my joke and word of the day here, we're going to talk about ways that you can prevent. So the best way to prevent sleep deprivation is to make sure you get adequate sleep or you adequately rest. Your body's in a resting state. So other ways you can get back on track with a healthy sleep schedule include the following. So here, I'm going to give you sprinkle some little prevention tips. Okay, number 1, limiting daytime naps or avoiding them altogether because they fuck you up. When you're a baby, they're swell. When you're an adult, sometimes they're not that great. You feel kind of funky. Okay, refraining from caffeine past noon. I know it's hard for some of you guys, but hey, who am I to judge? I quit coffee 3 months ago? Maybe it's been 4. Going to bed at the same time each night. Waking up at the same time every morning. Sticking to your bedtime schedule during weekends and holidays. Spending an hour before bed doing relaxing activities such as reading, meditating, or taking a bath. Avoid heavy meals 2 hours before bedtime. Refrain from using electronic devices right before bed. Matter of fact, get those motherfuckers away from your bed and put them somewhere else. Bye-bye. And last but not least, exercising on the regular, but not in the evening hours close to bedtime. So there. Those are things that you can prevent from, depriving your body of sleep. Those are things that can kind of help you out. And I really agree with some of these things that Sadhguru says because, to be honest, our eating, our exercise, all of those things play into effect and how well our body rests at night. So, I'm gonna drop that article below here somewhere so that way you guys can also check it out and kind of give me your thoughts on it. It was really nice kind of talking about those things here today because I've been kind of wanting to know what are some of the effects that these things have on our body. We hear of some of those things, but I didn't even realize that it can affect my respiratory system. I knew the basic things of what it could do, but I didn't think I knew in this kind of depth. Now I think I'm going to be more conscious of my resting time or how, when I rest. I think I'm going to definitely take my resting into consideration now. So yes, I hope that anything that I said here today helped you understand if you need, because I basically, you know, I think here the important thing is that all the things that you do prior to sleeping is what's actually most important. So, or the things that you do throughout your day, which is what you put into your body, which is your food, what you put into what you see through your eyes visually, which is, things that you store up in your brain. So do things that are going to be light on your thoughts so that you're not taking those things to bed. And do a lot more reading, a lot more meditating, a lot more silent time with yourself. So that way your body's also not stressed when you're trying to rest. That rhymed. Okay, so yes, you guys, if you have any questions about what I talked about here today, as always, feel free to email me at peopletalknow@hotmail.com. And also, as you guys know, I always like to leave the show with a word of the day and a joke of the day. So what do we got for today's joke of the day? I hope it's something good. Oops, what do we got here? I really thought I had some jokes here. Oh, guess not. Okay. That is not what I was expecting. Okay. Lost my joke here. That's cool. Okay. This has never happened while I was recording, so we're gonna go ahead and find another joke, I guess, because. So in the meantime, since I don't know what happened to my joke. I'd lost my joke. I guess that I lost my joke. I had my joke all queued up here, and then I don't know what happened. I lost my joke. Womp, womp, womp. Can we cue laughter? Can we cue laughter here? Is that a joke? That I lost my joke? Fuck. Okay. I had it here. I felt like it was a funny joke. I think I can kind of actually remember it. So, okay. I think I remember what the joke was. I had it all queued up. So let's go. Let's just drop the joke. So, I heard this was a gender reveal party. So why am I the only one naked? Can we cue laughter? Because I thought that was hilarious. Because just imagine you went to a gender reveal party and you're the only one just flashing your pride. You just went in the nude because you thought it was like a gender reveal party. What? I thought it was funny. Come on. Cue the laughter. Cue the laughter. Okay. Maybe it wasn't that funny. If you didn't think that was funny, I got another one for you. Just hold it. Hold it. I know you're going to laugh at this one. If you don't know who he is, it's okay. Maybe the poets out there might understand. But this is a joke for everyone. So here we go. Who is that? That's Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe. I thought it was funny. Assholes. All right. So, moving right along. After today's corny jokes, we got word of the day. So today's word of the day is, let's see, drum roll. Pandiculation, not dick. Okay, get your mind out of the gutter. It's actually called pandiculation. It's spelled Pandiculition. Vanessa, what does it mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. I'll gladly tell you what it means. It means a stretching and stiffening, especially of the trunk and extremities. As when fatigued and drowsy or after waking from sleep, what a coinkydink that this word worked out perfectly with our topic today. And examples. If you're asking yourself, Vanessa, how would I use pandiculation in a sentence? And finally, pandiculation, a brain reflex action pattern similar to how a dog gets up from rest, putting its front paws out and lengthening his back as he relaxes his belly. Pandiculation can wake up the muscular system at the brain level and provide deep relaxation. So yawning is often accompanied by stretching of the body. This is called pandiculation. Humans yawn and so do animals, like dogs, chimpanzees, baboons, and horses. So, did you know that cats and dog owners who witness daily their pets' body stretching upon awakening might wonder if there's a word to describe their routine? And there is, pandiculation. All right, y'all, so get up out of your bed this morning and pandiculation. Pow! Pooh-yeah. All right. So, use that word in a sentence however the hell you want. Hashtag people talk now, or tag me in a post if you use it in a sentence. You figure out a better way to use it than I did, then go for it. Tag me. I'll share it on my Instagram stories. Give you a shout out. Because I love it when you guys use the words that I said on the show. Makes me happy. So the whole gist of all this topic today is that it's important that you get your rest, because it can fuck you up if you don't get your rest. So don't get caught not resting, because yeah, it's not good for you. We need to be getting a rest. You know, it's crazy how everything in our life. Can we just cue the sad violin music now? Everything in our life just plays a role in our rest and our mental health and what we eat. So I'm just saying, you guys, just you may not agree to certain facts that were given here today, but life is not a battle. We're not going to war. And it's very important that you're getting the rest that you need, because, I remember there was a point in time when I was young and I felt like, holy shit, I'm invincible. Nothing can touch me. Right? And I sometimes still feel that way, but I think it's because of the way I eat. I realize now that it wasn't so much because of the rest I was getting. It's more now what I put in my body, because I'll give a 18-year-old a run for their money any day. And why? Because I think it's because of what I'm eating. But before I thought it was like, oh yeah, because I'm sleeping this amount of hours. And no, it turns out that I needed to sleep that amount of hours because I was eating crappy food and my body needed that much time. Kind of like a bear when they hibernate. They have all this fucking food in their body because they need to their body's going to process. And it takes a while for their body to process whatever they're eating. But we're not bears, we're humans, and we don't need to be hibernating all that much. As far as I know, we actually don't hibernate. We don't need to, go and buy a shitload of food and then go lock ourselves up in our bedroom. So yeah, that was weird. That got really weird. But I think you guys get what I'm trying to say here. Okay? Just get some sleep, okay? And just try some of the things here. Just try to take care of yourself more. Nobody's paying me here to give you this advice. I shouldn't be having to tell you that you need to get sleep, but don't buy into all that shit either that you need to have 9 hours of sleep. I think it's important that you listen to your body. And I also think it's just as important as you listening to your body, that you also, put the things in your body that's going to help your body actually achieve those resting results. So on that note, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to People Talk Now. If you have any questions or if you have any topics that you want me to talk about, feel free to email me at peopletalknow@hotmail.com. And yeah, as always, it's been a real fucking slice, you guys. And thank you guys so much for watching. Did I say washing or washing? Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And if you haven't already, please subscribe down below. I think it's over here. Subscribe, like, share, comment, whatever. Tell your grandma, tell your friends. And yeah, we got more videos coming soon, so don't even trip. I got you. And as always, you guys, have a kick-ass Wednesday. Bye.